Smokey Robinson isn't just a singer. He's a living legend. His voice, songwriting, and influence helped shape the Motown sound and redefine soul music. But how did a young boy from Detroit, born William Robinson Jr., become one of the most respected figures in music history? His journey is one of talent, perseverance, and reinvention. From fronting the Miracles to writing some of Motown's biggest hits and later launching a successful solo career, Smokey Robinson's story is filled with highs, lows, and an enduring passion for music. His smooth vocals, poetic songwriting, and undeniable charisma made him one of the most beloved figures in the music industry. But behind the fame and success, there were struggles, challenges, and an unwavering drive to keep creating. Let's take a deep dive into the incredible life of this musical icon. Smokey Robinson was born William Smokey Robinson Jr. on February 19, 1940, in Detroit, Michigan. Growing up in the North End neighborhood, an area often marked by economic struggles, he found solace in music. His mother passed away when he was just 10 years old, leaving him and his siblings to be raised by their father. Despite the challenges, Smokey was always drawn to music, listening to a mix of blues, gospel, jazz, and doo-wop that filled the streets of Detroit. His love for harmony groups like the Moonglows, the Drifters, and Nolan Strong and the Diablos played a significant role in shaping his musical style. His nickname, Smokey, came from an uncle who would take him to see cowboy movies and affectionately called him Smokey Joe. The name stuck, and by the time he was a teenager, he had dropped Joe, but kept Smokey as part of his identity, using it even as he stepped into the world of music. By high school, Smokey had already started chasing his musical dreams. He formed a vocal group called the Five Chimes with some neighborhood friends, inspired by the doo-wop sound that was growing in popularity. The group later changed their name to the Matadors and began performing at local venues, hoping to land a recording deal. Smokey, the group's lead singer, stood out not just because of his smooth tenor voice, but also because of his songwriting abilities, something rare for artists at the time. He had a notebook filled with hundreds of song ideas, something that would prove invaluable later in his career. Everything changed in 1957 when fate brought him face-to-face with a young Gordy Jr. during an unsuccessful audition for a record label. Although the audition didn't go as planned, Gordy was captivated by Smokey's voice and songwriting potential. Seeing raw talent and ambition, Gordy took Smokey under his wing, offering him advice on songwriting and music production. This meeting sparked a mentorship that would lead to the creation of Motown Records and shape the future of American music. Shortly after, the Matadors rebranded as the Miracles, and with Gordy's guidance, Smokey and his group released their first single, Got a Job, in 1958, a playful response to the hit Get a Job by the Silhouettes. Though it wasn't a major success, it was the start of something big. Smokey and Gordy were just getting started, and their partnership would soon change the music industry forever. Gordy Jr., an ambitious songwriter and producer, immediately saw Smokey's potential. He was impressed by his voice and songwriting skills, but also by his determination. The two formed a close partnership, and Smokey became one of the first artists to sign with Gordy's newly created Motown Records. In 1960, the Miracles released Shop Around, which became Motown's first million-selling hit. This was just the beginning. Smokey's songwriting talent became evident as the Miracles continued to release hit after hit, including You've Really Got a Hold on Me, The Tracks of My Tears, Ooh Baby Baby, and I Second That Emotion. The Miracles weren't just another group, they were helping to shape the Motown sound. Smokey's voice had a rare ability to convey deep emotion, whether he was singing about heartbreak or joy. His songs weren't just catchy, they told stories that people connected with. The Miracles' success wasn't just about hit records, it was about creating timeless music that resonated with listeners, making Smokey a household name. Smokey Robinson wasn't just a performer, he was a driving force behind the success of Motown Records. While many artists were focused solely on their careers, Smokey played a pivotal role in shaping the sound and legacy of the entire label. Gordy, the founder of Motown, trusted Smokey as both an artist and a leader, recognizing his exceptional talent not only as a singer but as a songwriter, producer, and mentor. As Motown's vice president, Smokey became one of the most influential figures at the label. He worked closely with Gordy, helping to develop Motown's signature sound, a blend of soulful melodies, catchy lyrics, and polished production that would dominate the charts for decades. He wasn't just crafting hits for himself, he was behind some of the greatest songs of the era. His songwriting genius was undeniable, penning timeless classics for Motown's biggest stars. For The Temptations, he wrote and produced My Girl, one of the most recognizable songs in music history, as well as Get Ready. Both tracks became defining moments for the group and cemented Motown's reputation for producing unforgettable music. He also wrote My Guy for Mary Wells, which became her signature hit, and one of the first Motown songs to reach #1. One one on the Billboard Hot 100. For Marvin Gaye, Smokey penned Ain't That Peculiar and I'll Be Doggone, both of which helped establish Gaye as one of Motown's leading voices. Smokey's ability to write lyrics that spoke directly to the heart made him one of the greatest songwriters of all time. He had a way of capturing love, heartbreak, and longing in a way that felt deeply personal yet universally relatable. His poetic approach to songwriting set Motown apart from other record labels and influenced generations of artists. But despite his success behind the scenes, Smokey was still an artist at heart. While his role at Motown was significant, he never stopped performing and recording music. For years, he balanced his responsibilities as a label executive with his work as the lead singer of The Miracles. However, by the early 1970s, he felt it was time for a change. In 1972, after nearly 2 decades with The Miracles, Smokey made the difficult decision to leave the group and focus on his solo career. It wasn't an easy transition. Fans closely associated him with The Miracles, and stepping out on his own was a major risk. For a brief period, he even considered retiring from music altogether to spend more time with his family, but his passion for songwriting and performing was too strong to ignore. In 1975, Smokey released A Quiet Storm, an album that introduced a softer, more mature sound. The title track became the blueprint for an entirely new radio format called Quiet Storm, a style of R&B that focused on slow, smooth, and romantic ballads. This sound dominated late-night radio for years and influenced countless artists, from Luther Vandross to Anita Baker. The album also featured songs like Baby That's Bakacha and The Agony and The Ecstasy, proving that Smokey could evolve with the times while still maintaining his signature soulful style. His solo career took off in the late 1970s and 1980s with a string of hits that kept him at the forefront of the music industry. Songs like Cruisin, a smooth, feel-good anthem, and Being With You, a heartfelt love song, became instant classics. He continued to release albums that showcased his ability to blend poetic lyricism with emotional depth, keeping his music relevant for new generations. Even as the music industry changed, Smokey Robinson remained a beloved figure. His ability to adapt while staying true to his soulful roots made him one of the few artists who could successfully transition from the Motown era into contemporary R&B. His influence extended beyond just hit records. His legacy was about shaping the way people experienced and connected with music. Smokey's journey from a young songwriter in Detroit to a legendary solo artist and industry leader was remarkable. He didn't just leave his mark on Motown, he helped define an entire generation of music. And even as he stepped away from the executive side of the business, his impact on the industry remained undeniable. His songs, whether sung by himself or other artists, became timeless, proving that true artistry never fades. Despite his success, Smokey faced personal struggles that nearly destroyed his career. In the 1980s, he battled substance abuse, a dark period that threatened everything he had built. He later admitted that he felt lost and disconnected from the music that had once brought him so much joy, but true to his resilient spirit, Smokey fought to turn his life around. With the help of friends, family, and his deep faith, he overcame his addiction and made a triumphant return to music. By the late 80s, he was back on top with songs like Just to See Her and One Heartbeat, proving that his talent and passion were stronger than any obstacle. His comeback wasn't just about music, it was about redemption and the ability to rise above life's challenges. Smokey's story became one of resilience, inspiring fans and fellow artists alike. Even after decades in the industry, Smokey Robinson hasn't slowed down. In 2023, he released Gasms, an album that explored themes of love and pleasure, showing that he's still pushing creative boundaries. In 2024, he announced the Quiet Storm Legacy Tour, celebrating the 50th anniversary of his iconic album. Beyond his own music, Smokey's influence can be heard in artists across generations. His songwriting style, vocal delivery, and storytelling continue to inspire R&B, pop, and soul musicians. From Bruno Mars to John Legend, many of today's biggest stars credit Smokey as a major influence. Smokey Robinson's story is one of perseverance, reinvention, and undeniable talent. From his early days with The Miracles to his work behind the scenes at Motown and his remarkable solo career, his impact on music is unmatched. He didn't just create hits, he shaped the sound of a generation. His ability to tell stories through music, combined with his smooth vocals and timeless songwriting, has made him one of the most beloved figures in music history. Even today, his legacy lives on, proving that true legends never fade. Smokey Robinson isn't just a Motown icon, he's a musical pioneer whose influence will continue to inspire for generations to come.